רחמים שוכן במרומים המסם מלוכה נכונה על כנפי השכינה.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, I'm honoured to join you as Mayor of Barnet today at Woodside Park Synagogue to mark the dedication of your Holocaust statue, crafted so beautifully by Susan Simmons, and to hear the previous speakers' prayers and perspectives. It's a particularly moving start to a week in which we will remember the Holocaust and subsequent genocides in many different communities and settings, including the borough's commemoration next Sunday, which will be has been marked annually for the last 2 decades. And I think it is the strength of the community in Barnet that we are here, members of Woodside Park Synagogue, of the Multi-Faith Forum, and our wider communities marking this important moment together. If I might speak personally for a moment, I wasn't born in Barnet, but one of the privileges of becoming a councillor here in the borough with the largest Jewish population in the country has been not only to get to know the many communities within that, but also to be on a journey of understanding the depth of horror and the legacy of the Shoah through your eyes. As a child, I was aware of the Holocaust, though I'm not sure I would have used that name then, and of the thousands of refugees across Europe in the decades before my birth. When I was a teenager, I read Anne Frank's diary, and it prompted my mother to talk of the appalling shock she felt as a teenager at seeing the newsreel films of the liberation of the camps shown on the cinema. But it was slightly abstract, and it was part of history, moving and horrific though it was. However, it's been here in Barnet, having the privilege of hearing testimony of survivors over the past 20 years, that it has for me, as it has for so many others in Barnet, become part of our lives and our consciousness. The horrors of the systematic abuse and extermination that went on, told so movingly by survivors at Yad Vashem and museums elsewhere. The horrors that became known as the Holocaust, but also the tragedy that we are seeing, genocide and atrocities continuing to be perpetrated across the world. And here, importantly, in Barnet, I've experienced the work of the Holocaust Education Trust and been privileged to see a new generation of young people who have been able to learn about the realities through survivor testimony, about the legacy of the Holocaust and those subsequent genocides. I watched a room full of young people from a range of ethnicities, cultures and faiths so typical of many of our secondary schools in Barnet, listening intently to personal testimony of survivors like Mala, asking questions, being able to question, watching in their eyes, hearing in their voices the tangible connection that is made, the understanding, the depth of understanding that was developing. And occasionally, as has been the case, the recognition that one of those young people has been caught up in or suffered as a result of a more recent atrocity and understands very well, in a personal way, the reality of being a refugee fleeing in fear of their lives. But the reality is that we are sadly beginning to lose those who can speak firsthand and make that direct connection with the events of the Holocaust. There is a danger that we could let the Holocaust and its legacy slip into history. But in the face of the subsequent genocides and ongoing examples of atrocities and appalling inhumanity, we should not and we must not let that happen. And thus, memorials like the one that has been dedicated here today are so important in being a focus, because it is beautiful and poignant and moving. Keeping both the Holocaust in our minds and in the minds of our children and grandchildren, as we've heard Talia speak about today, and ensuring that we are all vigilant against the threat of further genocides and the risks that tolerating casual racism, discrimination and hatred places. I hope that we will all, on behalf of the community across Barnet and beyond, take away determination in our hearts to remember, and that in remembering we work together to fight to ensure that the Holocaust never happens again, but actually also that we build a safer and a more united future for ourselves and for our children and grandchildren. Thank you very much.
שוכן במרומים עמסי מלוכה נכונה על כנפי השכינה